Welcome to Style and Confidence, where transformative coaching meets personal styling for business success. I'm your host, Claire Silk, a transformative life coach and a personal stylist, passionate about helping women like you align your inner worth with your outer expression. Each week, we explore how to build lasting confidence from the inside out, so you can show up as your most authentic, empowered self. Whether you're looking to break through limiting beliefs, build authentic confidence and a winning mindset, or create a wardrobe that truly empowers you, you are in the right place. Get ready to transform your relationship with both your mind and your style. Hello and welcome to the Style and Confidence podcast with me, Claire Silk. In today's episode, I will be talking to special guest Liz Wheeler. Liz is the founder of Life Force Wellness. She is a certified health coach, personal trainer, nutritional expert, yoga teacher and trauma-informed coach, and she specialises in women's health and wellness. Liz's ethos is that health and wellness is not a superficial thing that we can down prioritise or leave until later. She believes this is actually a superpower that we can tap into and strengthen to elevate every area of our lives. This invites us to consider that, in fact, how we approach the health and well-being of our bodies, minds and emotions is one of the strongest expressions of our style that we have. Thank you ever so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on, Claire. It's great to be here.
Lovely to have you here, thank you. So what inspired you to be a health coach?
There's a lot of answers to that question, but sort of starting at the end and going backwards, it was my friend Kamer who kind of woke me up to it. So we were in Austria in the summer of 2022. And I'd left the company that I've been working for 12 years off the back of a 20-year career in commercial real estate. And I was honestly just in recovery mode. You know, it was the first mental break I'd had really in 2 decades. And it came following probably the most stressful time I've ever had in my professional career. And I had given myself 3 months where I sort of forbid myself to even think about what I was going to do next. And so I was there in the mountains and my friend Kamer had come over to visit from New York, and I'm sitting there on the deck in this beautiful, peaceful, gorgeous scenery with her and my sister. And I said, I'm sort of thinking about, what should I do next? And she said, oh, are you going to do the health coaching? And it kind of stopped me in my tracks because I wasn't even thinking about the health coaching as a business. It was something that I'd studied, many years ago alongside my career, but it wasn't even one of the things in my head. And from that moment, it was sort of all I thought about. And so it was really a constellation of things coming together. And then, the push factor was stepping out of the corporate world in the summer of 2022 and knowing that I was not going to go back to an environment like that again. So I suppose it was, just a culmination of all those different life events and then a little kick in the bum from a friend. And I sort of started putting together my ideas and founded the business later on in 2022.
And I love the way the stars are sort of all aligned and it all fell into place. It sounds quite poetic.
Well, I think when when you have a passion on one side that is a big part of your life, and then a career that is successful on paper, and there's a lot to be grateful for with that, but there's a lot of risk as well that you get sort of stuck in something when there's something over here that maybe is burning over there and asking for attention, and something has to happen for you to make that switch, I think, to have the courage to do it.
Yeah, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs as well, that sort of switch between the corporate to then the being an entrepreneur can be quite a sticking point.
Yeah.
And then quite a change when you do it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been the best thing I've ever done. It's been absolutely liberating. I would say that I still have moments where I think, am I allowed to do something as a job that I love this much? Am I allowed to have a career that is based on parts of my life that have been, hobbies and, the fitness aspect of it? And I talk about food all day. And sometimes I still think, is this real? Is this allowed? Because, for so much of my life, work wasn't like that. There are aspects of it that I really enjoyed, but it wasn't something I deeply loved. It wasn't something that I deeply cared about. And now I'm doing something that I do deeply love and I do deeply care about. And that in itself can be a bit scary sometimes because it's so much more meaningful to me, I guess.
Yeah, gosh, I think that's hugely relatable, and how wonderful that you are able to do that, and so necessary as well, because it matters to you. It's going to really matter to other people as well, and it's quite different from a corporate job where you've got to do this and you're doing it because you've been told to do it, and quite a different and exciting journey. Um, what in building your business has surprised you?
I would say something that really surprised me was people's reactions. Everybody who I have told, whether I know them really well or I don't know them at all, and it's sort of just in passing, and someone says, "What do you do?" No one's even blinked at it. And even people who I honestly thought would say, "But isn't it risky? What isn't it stupid to walk away from a 20-year career? And what about the money?" Every single person has said, "Well, that must be much more fulfilling," or "Well, that's much more you," as if they have just been waiting for me to tell them this for years and years and years and sort of wondering why on earth I wasn't doing it already, as if I was kind of, late to the party in my own career. So that's been something that was really surprising. And, I suppose that's given me a lot of confidence as well, that even when I was sort of doubting myself, during those years of being in corporate and building my experience on the health and wellness side and studying and, doing exams and getting qualifications and telling myself, yes, one day for something, I'm going to use it, but not necessarily really believing it. Everybody else was believing it and was just waiting for it to happen.
Gosh, oh, that's lovely that everyone else just knew it was for you and you just had to realize it yourself and nobody was surprised.
But I think that has been that's been very validating and a confidence boost as I've been, getting things off the ground.
So, conversely, what's been your biggest confidence challenge?
I mean, I guess there's always some self-doubt that comes with making a big change, stepping out of 20 years of doing one thing and starting something that is completely new, felt completely new, even though in essence it's been a huge part of my life for a really, really long time. Putting my blood, sweat, and tears into the job that I had for 20 years, but heart and soul into what I'm now doing. And that's a very different feeling. And then I think as well, the sort of meandering learning curve of founding a business and building a business, because even when you're an expert in something and you know that you can deliver an excellent service for your clients, I'm not an expert in owning a business, being like a solopreneur, as it's called, and not having a team around me and not having someone I can just call and say, this thing's not working. Can you help me fix it? Or I'm not necessarily used to mistakes being an inevitable part of the day that typically, I could have got help with. There's no one to help me. And so I have to take action, and that action could definitely be the wrong action. And then I have to pivot and try something else. I'm in a very different headspace with that now than I was, 3 years ago. I've learned that as I've gone along, that it is it's a learning curve. It's not linear. It's, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. I feel more confident now to just give things a go.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, so much of what you spoke to there is a coach. You qualify, you learn to be a coach because that's what you're, deeply interested in. And then you qualify and you think, brilliant, yes, I can coach other people, I can help other people. And then you realize that somehow you've got to make that into a business. And it's not what you started out doing, is it? It's not what you didn't start out thinking, right, I'm going to own a business. It's like an afterthought almost.
Oh, that's absolutely right. And everything that goes with that in terms of just, you know, being able to reach people, people being able to reach you, all of the sort of administrative stuff and platforms and navigating who can help you and who's telling you that they can help you, but it's not real, and making mistakes, wasting money, wasting time. And yeah, kind of a frustration of I've got something to offer here and I'm ready to go. And I just, there's barriers everywhere and walls going up everywhere. You have to smile and learn to laugh at stuff and take it as all part of the experience, I think.
Yeah. And like you said, with, making mistakes, it's when you're used to a corporate lifestyle, there are predefined processes, aren't there? To do that job, you have to do that and then that. And then when this happens, you do that. And it's all somebody else has been there before you. So yeah, to have that complete different, oh, what do we do now? Don't know. This has not been done before. And you've got to
Yeah.
find that out and inevitably make mistakes along the way, which is quite a different mindset, isn't it? What did you do to help you adjust in that mindset and stay confident and resilient?
Um, that's such a good question. I think part of it is just experience, that nothing was the end of everything. And, even the things that felt hectically frustrating along the way were still part of the path. And I think that's something you just sort of get used to. Maybe it's easier with hindsight. You can see, oh yeah, that thing that I was in at that moment in time that was driving me crazy, that I could have done so much better, or I could have done different, or I could have put the money somewhere else, or whatever it is. I think you see, don't you, that there was a reason for it, like an actual business reason, that you found something out and it was a step to the next thing. And every time you go through something, you learn something, and you don't make that mistake again, or you make a different choice the next time. And I don't think you can do this any other way, actually. But also there's an excitement that comes with that, that this is my thing. If I make a mistake, it's my mistake. It's my mistake. It's my business. It's my problem, and I'll find the solution. It's my solution. Probably some of the biggest mistakes I've made in terms of wasting money because you're price sensitive, right? When you're starting a business, the last thing you want to do is put the money, very hard earned small money that you've made into the wrong place. But some of the biggest blunders I've made in that respect have actually turned into some of my greatest sort of door openers, or like the portal to the next levels. Yeah, I think just learning as you go along, becoming a bit more resilient to these sorts of setbacks.
Oh, that's a great perspective. I love that. And I like the distinction you made with the mistakes. It's your mistake, which it is. But it occurred to me when you said that, and I thought, well, actually, when you make a mistake when you're employed, it's it's quite a different feeling, isn't it? Because somebody else is cross, or it's impacted somebody else, or you've upset somebody, or you've lost the company money, and it's a very different feeling to your
Yeah.
mistake. You've got to find your solution, which is quite empowering. Like you said, it's exciting, isn't it? And
Yeah, it is. It's very different. And I think I'm much more suited to that. I'm not very good at being told what to do. I mean, I did, but pretty okay in the corporate world. I mean, I got some great projects to work on. I got to, an executive director level. It was all, quite positive and quite good, but it felt a bit like I was always sort of fighting doing things this way, having my own business, my own projects, deciding who I work with and who I don't work with, defining my own values. It's just more natural for me, quite honestly,
mm,
Claire.
it's lovely, isn't it? Building that business that is just naturally you and for you, made by you. It's a lovely experience.
Yeah.
Thinking about sort of, the building of a business, and I know as a coach myself, it's quite a crowded place. How do
Yeah.
you differentiate yourself as a health coach in what is now quite a crowded industry?
Yeah. I mean, coaching is incredibly crowded. Wellness is crowded. Health coaching is a bit less crowded because it's less well known, especially in this country. And I say this country, sitting in the UK, I split my time between the UK and Germany. And in Germany, they have an insurance system. So there's a lot of access to options across, the entire kind of healthcare space and coaching and, that sort of thing. So here it's really about spreading the word. on what health coaching is and, the power of coaching. So health coaching is becoming very well known in the US. They, often lead the way on these things. But there's a huge movement here with the UK and International Health Coaching Association, and they're working in collaboration with the NHS and other organizations to bring health coaching more into the mainstream because it is so powerful for people on so many levels. So you asked about differentiation. My work is whole person coaching. It's very holistic. I have the personal training side as well, the nutrition. I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a trauma-informed coach. And with my 20-year career in the corporate world as well, when my clients tell me about their lives, I know what they mean. I think where I am different is I've been coached all my life through doing sports. And I think before we had, executive coaching and life coaching and relationship coaching and health coaching and career coaching, there was sports coaching. And I had sports coaches for most of my life. I experienced through that what real coaching is and the power of real coaching. And that is a very close and deep and individual relationship that a coach builds with a client. It's not cookie cutter. It's not a signature program. It's not telling a person what to do. It's a true partnership. And I think, I have experienced from a very young age how a really good coach draws the absolute best out of the people that they coach. And that's something that I try to bring in to the coaching that I do with clients. That entirely bespoke, 100% with you every step of the way, walking beside my clients. I try to bring that into what I do. So I think the level of support that I give to clients is quite different. I hear that from people that they haven't seen that before. I think that is quite unique.
Yeah, gosh, I love that. Yeah. It's so nice that you had that early journey as well with the sports coaching to learn what you valued in a coach and what you thought was
Yeah,
particularly important.
that style of coaching has been around for, decades. It's just that
Mm.
now we have coaching for sort of everything. And as we know, the coaching space appears very, very crowded because there's not a lot of regulation around who can call themselves a coach or
Yeah.
not. But I think that's something that is becoming more regulated. And I think that's a good thing, so that people know that when they're hiring a coach, they're hiring someone who knows what coaching is and is going to really be able to help them.
Yeah, I think that is a good thing. When you reflect like that and think, well, sports coaching's been around for such a long time. Why on earth hasn't it been moved into other areas of life? It
Yeah.
seems a bit obvious, doesn't it? It could help so many areas, and it does now. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, I suppose that was one of the things where elite performance has always been, and now being able to translate that into, well, I want to be the best that I can be in, multiple areas of life. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Do you see an overlap in health coaching and confidence in your clients?
Always. I mean, ultimately, that's what it's for. We don't do health and wellness just for the sake of doing health and wellness. We do it for life. With all clients, it develops that kind of next level of inner certainty, self-belief, self-trust. And yeah, I mean, how you treat your body and mind, the condition that they're in. Even in this modern world, I think there's something existential about that. It does build confidence when the organism that you live life in, the brain that you think your thoughts with, you're treating with the utmost care and respect. That does ripple out into other areas of life. And clients say things like, I feel really proud of myself. I'm making better choices for myself. One client I had who worked with me for a year, at the end, she said, I'm exactly the way I wanted to be. I mean, it doesn't really get much
Yeah,
better than that,
gosh,
does it?
what a lovely outcome to have for somebody.
Yeah. And that, that shows up everywhere in life. And so, the starting point for people is normally some frustration with their body or their energy, or, maybe it's body composition or weight or low energy, poor sleep, these sorts of things. And of course, we deal with those things that are frustrating to them or that they're worried about. But when those things are overcome and they're free of that's incredibly liberating. You go off and live your life and forget about that stuff. It always has an impact on confidence.
That's really interesting because I do think our work fits together like a jigsaw almost. And I think, the bits that I do are supported by the bits that you do that fill in the gaps. And I always
Yeah.
think that self-belief provides such a foundation for so many other things that we all want. And then it's your work provides the foundation for the self-belief. It's, as you build that respect and that trust for yourself, it's really interesting.
And it can feel very overwhelming to people when they have this sense of, I want to do better for myself. I need to do better for myself. And there's so much, information coming at us now. And particularly, women's health has been commoditized and productized. And, we're being absolutely bombarded with stuff, particularly women in perimenopause and menopause. But actually, it's a great place to start, when you can find your way through that noise to what is actually relevant to you and what is actually going to be of a positive impact to you and what you can do, what's doable for you. Because there's nothing more incredible you can do than take care of you, that body that you're living in. And I know you work with clients on their style and how they walk through the world and how they present themselves and how that's a reflection of what's on the inside. And I think how you treat the body you live in, the style that you don't ever take off, is an incredibly powerful statement about who you are as a person and the self-love you have, the self-trust you have, the belief that you have in yourself and how you walk through the world.
Completely agree. Is that, the self-love and the self-compassion and how you look after yourself and how you look after your surroundings.
Right.
All impacts your own self-belief.
Yeah.
Has there been a time when your own health challenges have affected your business confidence?
Well, now I can say my health is my superpower.
Mhm.
So now the condition of my body, my ability to regulate my nervous system, I don't get sick. I have a much more calm and stable brain. And that is the foundation for everything that I do. For about a decade, I didn't feel brilliant in my body, and I had a pretty up and down mental state to go with it. Um, so during my 20s, I was trying to fit into this career and fit into this life. And, real estate is incredibly traditional and it's incredibly male. And aspects of that are a bit better now, but it's slow moving and it's still very challenging. And for a really long time, if you didn't fit in, you didn't go far. And it felt like a fight and it was exhausting. Every social event was late night and was alcohol. And, having been in really epic peak fitness at the beginning of my 20s, my health took a massive, massive hit during that time. And it was my whole being. It was my physical, my mental, my emotional health. And at the end of my 20s, I had a complete burnout and I found yoga. And then this whole journey started when I was about 30. But it was a long road for me to figure that out. And it was an incredibly unhealthy and really quite unhappy time for me. And it impacted everything, but it impacted my confidence in how I showed up for that, for that work as well. The environment impacted me and my lack of confidence and lack of care for myself impacted the way I showed up as well. And it was really when I shifted from doing what everybody else was doing to fit in or to feel like I was fitting in to, well, actually, I'm going to fit out. I'm actually going to make a thing of doing my thing and I'm going to do it shamelessly and I'm not going to try and hide things. And yes, I am going to sit there with my green juice while everybody else is eating a bacon sandwich or whatever, and let them call it pond scum or whatever it is. And I'm just going to say, oh, thank you very much, and get on with it. And I just sort of started to, build a much more resilient person, I suppose, take care of myself and get back to doing the things that I really loved. Got back to running, was doing my yoga, started studying nutrition constantly. I got deeper and deeper into nutritional science, and it's really all just grown from there. But I feel like it's come back. It feels like it's come back to me. It's that experience that makes me so driven to help other women to not get stuck in a way that's so detrimental, because your confidence takes a huge hit when you're bending yourself out of shape to try and fit in, and not taking care of yourself in the process. And so many women do this and are still doing this, and it's so normalized that you don't even see it yourself until something, until there's some trigger.
Gosh, that's an amazing story. And now be in the position where you feel your health is your superpower and you're helping other women with their health as well. And then to
Yeah,
go back to where you were and the way you're now reflecting on that and the inauthenticity of it, I think I mean, that shows up in other places, doesn't it? In so many other places when you're trying to fit yourself into something that just isn't you,
right.
big and small. I mean, clothes as well. People try and follow a trend because it's a trend and then it's not them. So they feel really self-conscious and uncomfortable. Or the women
Right.
trying to dress professionally and trying to elevate themselves and look a bit sharper. And they try and put something else on that they've seen someone else wear. Then it's just inauthentic. It's not really them, but they were dressing for what they think they should be doing. It's damaging,
Yeah,
isn't it, in every aspect and hugely.
it is. It is hugely damaging. And there's a massive amount to, I mean, we could talk for a month on that
Yes.
topic. And that's not about that sort of like perfectionist tendency of, I want to be more like that or more like that. It's, I want to be more excellent for me, for myself, nothing to do with anybody else. Why should we not want that? Why should we accept good enough when it doesn't feel good enough?
And reach your full potential, that possibility of I can do better for me and I can reach my full potential. Because I think a lot of people I see get to a certain stage and they just think, I've got more than this, there has to be more than this. And
Right.
especially
Yeah.
when perhaps you hit your 40s and you think, well, this isn't everything I thought I'd be. And
Yeah.
and then that
Yeah.
realization that I can do more than this.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not about having, another rung on the ladder of career or another zero in the bank account, or, I mean, it may be those things for some people, but it doesn't have to be those things. That, the things that we've been taught to value are not the things that many of us truly in our hearts do value. And we all need to support each other in, being able to go after that and figuring out what that really means, and creating an environment where we can actually really have that. Because I love how you say that, there's got to be something more. It can't just be this. And I think the answer is health and happiness and fulfillment and peace. And whatever that means to you as a person is what you should be striving for. And I use that word should. We don't, we don't use the word should,
Bad
but
word, yes.
when it comes, to life, what is in your heart and soul, what you really care about is the thing that you should feel that you can go after, and have
Yeah.
the freedom to do that.
One thing that you mentioned in your social media is the nervous system. And obviously that,
Mm.
takes that sort of work a bit deeper. And we do live in a busy world. And I talk to so many women that are feeling overwhelmed and they're often in danger of burning out. I deal with people who are just approaching burnout and kind of realize that's where they're on the way and come and seek
Mm.
help at that point. How does chronic stress like that show up in high achievers that you work with?
I see it showing up physically and mentally. So, on the physical side, frustrations like holding on to extra weight, bloating and digestive issues, lack of energy, inability to sleep, sleeping too much, hormone issues, like stronger hormone related symptoms, low immune system, headaches, skin problems. So, that's the physical stuff that is, and other things as well, but they're the sort of main characteristics of chronic stress and, anxiety. And beyond those frustrations, sometimes it's reached to that more like fear level of, there's been some sort of trigger and a person is now in sort of like full on overdrive of I've got to fix this thing before it's gone too far or too late, or it's just the most pressing thing on their mind. There's always awareness. So they'll be saying, I know I need to do this, or I know I should do this or that, but there's a lack of action. When people are in that chronic stress state, there's a lack of action because although they want to make a change for themselves, it just feels like too much. They don't have the mental capacity to take another thing on. It just feels too big. And that's consistent. So really accomplished, intelligent people just saying, I know I need to do something, but I just don't know what to do and I just need help. And you do one thing and it's going to make a difference physically, but your brain loves that because you've seen room for improvement, you've taken action, you get a hit of dopamine from that, the brain wants more of that, and it makes, taking the next positive action easier. And so that's how we tend to work, based on, adding in small things that are going to make a difference quickly.
Yeah. So how do you help people who are kind of used to pushing through everything actually just start pausing and listening to their bodies?
I mean, I think that's coaching 101 in a sense. Like going back to what we were saying about the coaching space being crowded and, real coaching isn't telling. It's not it's not prescribing something like saying, oh, you want to lose weight, here's a diet, go and do that. It absolutely is creating the space and holding that space and time for a client to explore. But I would say that's the beauty of coaching, is that partnership between coach and client, where they are not only invited to pause, but that's the point of the session, is that it is that space for them to go inwards and say, okay, I'm dedicating this moment in time to this topic that's important to me. And naturally, they are listening to their bodies and getting much more in touch with themselves. And that's how we set the goals that are relevant to them. And that's how we take actions that are in service of what it is that they want to achieve. I would
love
say
that.
that's the whole purpose of it. Yeah.
Yes. I love that you describe it as coaching 101. And it is the point, isn't it? And it's so true. It is the point of coaching to provide that space where people can pause and reflect on, all the things.
I think that's why it's so powerful, because nobody's devoid of information now. But what we are lacking is connection to our own inner wisdom, our own compass, because we're continually being, smacked in the face with everybody else's stuff. And actually, that's why I think coaching is becoming so incredibly popular and people are seeking out coaching, and why there's now coaching for sort of every aspect of life, because actually, in the end, people want to do what's right for them. And, the only person who knows what's right for you actually is you. But that can be really difficult to access alone on your own. And so that's where an experienced coach will have the tools for a person to be able to access what it is that they truly want and how they're going to achieve that.
True, there's just information overload, isn't there? For any question you've got, there's 101 answers, and then it's what on earth do you do with that? What's true for you, and what's the best way forward for you? And until you take the moment to actually really sit with that, you don't know where to start, do you? It's just overwhelming.
And you don't start then, and that's the issue. And when you ask me, what do I see coming up for women who are continually pushing through and are in that kind of like chronic stress, sort of like hypervigilance and go, 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 and they are always on the go, and yet still sort of only just clinging on, in a sense, to like getting the things done that need to be done, because we always get the things done that need to be done. But the deeper things are things that you think about when you're awake at night, or the things that are on your mind when you're maybe traveling, or the promises that you make to yourself. These are the things that we never take action on because that information overload. And people always do the things that were their idea. You give people a choice and you ask them, well, what do you think you should do? And then you offer up some other alternatives. They will always choose to do the thing that they chose to do because they feel it. It's coming from that place of alignment. And that's what coaching brings, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of coaching, isn't it? It helps people
Yeah.
access what's true for them and, take action that is fully aligned. It's not somebody else's suggestion, which is, like you say,
Right,
not nearly as powerful, is it? So,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
What's the relationship between how we feel in our bodies and how we show up in the world, do you think?
That's such a powerful question. And I think I think it's existential because you live in that body. Every breath you take, every thought you have, every experience you have is from that physical organism. It's experiential. It's when I think it's when people, when people say, oh, when you know,
Yeah.
it's like when you're treating that body that you live in and the mind that you think with love and respect and compassion, and you hold boundaries for yourself, no matter what people around you are doing, you just walk differently through the world. And when you walk through the world with that kind of energy, the world kind of shapeshifts around you. And it's like more opportunities come out of nowhere, and you have those serendipitous moments, and good things are attracted to that. And it's not loud and shiny and shouting on social media. It's just this more quiet knowing that feels different and feels solid. When you know, and when you do know how that feels, you just wouldn't live any other way.
I can really relate to that at the moment. I'm in a place and a kind of project of high vibrational thoughts and, the right amount of energy because it's all an energy exchange. And
Yeah.
yeah, really trying to live that at the moment.
And it's a practice, isn't it? But it's something you can practice everywhere all the time. And the most amazing things, sometimes just little small things. Like it happened to me the other day in the local shop. The guy just gave me some free fruit out of nowhere. And he's like, oh, you're just always like smiling, and no, everyone comes in here so grumpy. And it's true, I do go in there smiling and having a chat. And he just said, look, do you want this fruit? So I said, well,
Oh,
yeah, that's very kind. I'll take the fruit. But yeah, it is an energy exchange, as you say, and people feel that, and they are either drawn in or they're repelled by it. It makes a big difference to how people experience you, and it makes a big difference to how you experience the world around you. So that's a
yeah.
very cool project.
Yes. Like you say, it's practice. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Not always easy.
No, not always easy. What is one change that you think our listeners might be able to make today that would impact their health and confidence positively?
I would go back to the concept of building a really unshakable foundation. And it's much easier than you think. And it gives you an instant confidence boost. The foundations are things that you are already doing every day. So it's easier than you think. I call it SHINE, it's an acronym, and it's sleep and stress management, hydration and hormone health, immune system and anti-inflammation, nutrition, energy and exercise, 5 foundational pillars. And you're already doing all of those things all day just to survive. So it's about identify, and we all know where we do great and where maybe there could be a little bit of attention needed. And so identify those gaps. And so many people think about, I need to give up this, I need to stop doing that. That isn't the way. Think about adding in. I call it adding in. So identify where those gaps are and think, okay, how can I improve this by adding something in? So nutrition's a really easy example. People say, I need to stop eating this or stop eating that. Don't think about that. Think about something really good for you that you really enjoy that you can add into that. And then you will crowd out the stuff that, you think, oh, I need to give up. But don't worry about that. Think about adding in. If it's sleep, think about adding one thing in to your evening routine that can help you. So, if you enjoy scrolling social media, don't think about, oh, I've got to put the phone down and all of that. Just think about something you can add in. Maybe it's essential oil, something like that. But adding in to fill the gap, to really strengthen that foundation. When you do it through adding in, it's a much more positive experience for your brain. You recognize that area for improvement, you took action and you achieved it, and you get that dopamine hit and your brain says, oh, I like that dopamine hit, let's get some more of that. And then adding in the next thing becomes even easier. And then in your words, you've got like a personal project going on, and you're elevating absolutely everything. So it's a win-win-win. So I would say if you take away one thing, it's that foundation is really the foundation to everything, and you said it, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, is the life you have. So think of one thing that's going to be additive for your health, your well-being, your wellness, and do that one thing and do it with joy. And it should be about abundance, and celebrate that you kept a commitment to yourself.
Oh, that's excellent. I shall definitely be doing that. Sure. Have a good evaluate and see where I can add. And is there anything that you think I could have asked that I haven't done?
If you work with a health coach, you will not be told to do things that you don't want to do. I think that's, I think one of the biggest myths is that you're going to be told to do things that you don't want to do. And hopefully by now, throughout this, we have painted a more positive picture about what coaching is than that. But I think often, people think, oh, I'm going to have to go on a diet. I'm going to have to cut things out. it's going to be time consuming. I'm not going to be able to live my life in as much joy and fun, and I'm going to miss out, and it's going to be restrictive. And it's the, health coaching really is the opposite of that. And that's very much my belief system, but it's actually the belief system of all of, health coaching, the training that I've done, the regulatory bodies that are involved. It's about a higher quality of life, not diminishing your quality of life. And I think that is, whether you work with a health coach or not, that's not the point. The point is that's what we should be striving for when it comes to our health and wellness and well-being. Is it's a more gorgeous way to live.
That sounds really aspirational. I love that. And if our listeners would like to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on there. I've just started an Instagram. People are very welcome to follow me on that. I'm going to get better with sharing stuff on my Instagram. I actually quite like that platform. But what I do have coming really soon is a relaunch of my website, and that is going to be the creme de la creme, because that's where I want to be able to share some really useful stuff for people. So there's going to be a blog up there and a whole load of free things that people can download. So first of all, please connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram, and then you'll get the good stuff off the back of that.
Yes. Oh, I look forward to the website.
Yes, it takes a while to build these things, as we said at the top of the discussion.
Yes. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's been really fun. I feel like we could have talked for hours and hours and hours on many different topics that are sort of close to both of our hearts. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to Style and Confidence, where style meets confidence for business success. If you have enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, rate, review and subscribe so you never miss out on our weekly confidence building conversations. You can also connect with me over on LinkedIn as Claire Silk, or on Instagram at Silk Style and Confidence for more style and mindset tips. Until next time, remember, true confidence comes from within. Style helps it shine.